parliamentarians look at Pakistan's journey towards democracy. Welcome back, viewers, to Inside with Javed Malik, and we're doing these special programs from London in the House of Lords. Today we are talking to Lord Thomas McNally, who is the leader of the Liberal Democrats party in the House of Lords. And as you know, the Liberal Democrats is the third largest party in British politics. They have a number of councils that they control. They also share government in some of the, I believe in Scotland. They have more than 80 members in the House of Lords, a very important group there. And also in the House of Commons, they have a number of members of Parliament led by Nick Clegg, who is a new leader of the Liberal Democrats. Whether the Liberal Democrats in the coming elections will play a very significant role in forming government is something that remains to be seen. But they will indeed be reaching out, not just to the Pakistani and the Muslim community here, but also in general trying to increase their numbers in Parliament. And we'll talk to Lord McNally about the relationship Pakistan has with Britain. Lord McNally, being a British politician, Britain is said, or rather the House of Common Lords where we're sitting now, the Parliament is referred to as the mother of parliaments. Pakistan has had a sort of checkered journey towards democracy, but finally, democracy is taking root. How do you see this journey towards democracy sitting here in British Parliament?
With a certain humility and understanding that it's a whole lot more difficult trying to establish and maintain democratic institutions in a developing country like Pakistan than it is with the continuity. We're in a building that's only 150 years old, but there has been a parliament of one kind or another here for 1,000 years.
Yes.
So I think, always with fingers crossed, we hope that the democratic institutions in Pakistan can take root, because it surely is the best hope for the country to have the national unity which comes from a proper process of political consultation and having a government that reflects the political will of the people. But I think that the truth is that both because of its impact on the now quite large Pakistani origin community in Britain, and because Pakistan itself is such an important country in the world and particularly in its region, we view developments with hope and concern.
Right. Now, in terms of the one of the objections or concerns that people in Pakistan sometimes have is that whenever military has taken over, or whether there has been a martial law, Britain and the West has sometimes seemed to be seen or perceived to be supporting the dictator. Do you think that tradition needs to stop, and Britain also needs to support democracy and in taking root?
I think quite right. I think the problem is that quite often the military have looked like the safe pair of hands in dealing with a turbulent area. My own view is it's the kind of safeness of the pressure cooker. It may keep things inside, but things are still building up. And I think that the advantage of democracy is that it can allow a proper maturing of debate without explosions. And so, yes, I think and I hope that Britain, in its relations with Pakistan, both in terms of its aid and its trade, gives Pakistani democracy a chance to take root and to flourish. Because in the end, what people are going to look for is for material increases in their own standard of living and the opportunity for their children. That is true whether it be in Pakistan or Britain. People still are looking for individual prosperity, whatever prosperity is defined as, but certainly a decent home and a job and a chance for their children to progress. And I think that's what government is about and should be about, as well as obviously maintaining the security of the citizen, both internally and externally.
Well, your party, of course, being what it is, being the third party in Britain, has experience in the past also forming coalitions. Pakistan right now is led by a coalition government. You've got parties from different sections forming a coalition led by, of course, the People's Party. Do you think coalition governments work? Do you think that it may be something that we may see in Britain any time in the future?
First of all, coalitions do work. Coalitions work all over the world. We in Britain have got used to the idea that they're only a necessity during wartime. It was once very famously said that England does not like coalitions, but that was about 150 years ago. All governments are coalitions. The present Labour government is a coalition of varying views. And
Old Labour and New Labour.
Indeed, well, and indeed, if the Conservatives were to win next time, they would be a coalition of Mr. Cameron's social conservatives or liberal conservatives or whatever he's calling them at the time, and the old Thatcherite conservatives. So all government is coalition, and it's merely a matter of whether your political system recognises it in terms of forcing parties into blocks or having a number of small parties or smaller parties that reach agreements for government.
Sometimes it's that the Western powers, Britain, I mean, of course, primarily the United States for that matter, influences the formations of governments or interferes in some ways. Do you think that there is a reality to that? Do you think Britain and America do have a role in terms of ensuring who comes to power and who doesn't? These are just perceptions that are widely speculated.
I think that, again, certainly there was a history of interference, some of the legacy of which we have to this day. It was very interesting recently when there was the great furore about the election in Iran, that Iranian politicians were raising the fact that Britain had engineered the downfall of Prime Minister Mossadegh over 50 years ago. People have long memories about this kind of interference, and certainly again,
I'm going to talk about Iran. You brought it up. I mean, you know, there is this perception. You give an example of Pakistan or Iran or any other country. Western powers seems to be playing a kind of a micromanagement role somewhere.
I'm not so sure that's true. I think it sometimes plays into the hands of certain elements in these countries to cry Western interference. But in the end, I mean, Iran is a very good example, but I think it equally applies to Pakistan as well. The country itself has got to come to a settlement about how it's going to go forward. And you referred to earlier the situation in Northern Ireland. The situation in Northern Ireland was where a Protestant minority, backed by Britain, denied a wide range of civil and political rights to a Catholic majority. And from that came a resentment and a resistance which caused what they called the Troubles. It was only when they were willing to come to a political settlement